Hello, this is Ascension Lab, and I made a tier list that did really well for the Silent, so I wanted to do the same for the Defect. This character has been my highest win rate by quite a bit. I'll pull up my win rate. I have a pretty positive win rate. I think the 9 streak was actually when I was climbing up through Ascension 1 through 9. Um, but in Ascension 10, I still have a positive win rate, I don't know the exact number, but I win more than I lose on this character in Ascension 10, and especially recently, I feel like things have started to click a lot. I'm on like a 6 win streak on Defect on Ascension 10, and I think that I've just figured out how to win on this character consistently and what actually makes it strong. So I want to share some insight on what I do to win and which cards that I think are generally good or how they interact with others and how I've used them. So I'm going to be going on untapped.gg to look at the card arts and the description, and I'm also going to have a tab open with the upgraded ones. The way I'm doing this is S is just the best cards. There shouldn't actually be many cards in this tier. It's just the ones that I think are actually the best in the entire kit. You will almost always take this and build around it. A is very strong, as in a card reward, you're going to take it about 80% of the time. It's just extremely good in most builds, large usage in pretty much any deck archetype. V is strong, so it's just like a card that you're going to take most of the time that you see it, and it contributes towards winning pretty often. And even it can be so good that you kind of build around it in niche cases. I have a few cards in mind that fit that. Good means that you probably aren't going to make or break your run by taking this card, but it's just something you're happy to take into your deck pretty often. A few cards come to mind for that as well. Average means that generally you're not thrilled to take it. It's just something you sometimes take to survive early on, or if you have some like niche synergies with it, then that's fine too. The E tier is just for cards that like you're not happy to take. They're below average. They're one of the worst cards in the kit, but not like outright bad, as in you can take it and it'll be okay in some cases, but generally speaking, it's not something that fits into most decks. And F is just outright bad, as in a card that I will just not take pretty much ever. And usually it's better to skip it than to actually take it. And so this is going to be going in alphabetical order. This is how the tier list is set up, and I'm going to link the template in the description, and I'll remember to actually post an image of my tier list in the description as well. I forgot to do that for the Silent. So the first card is Adaptive Strike. Deal 18 damage, add a 0 cost copy of this card into your discard pile. Upgraded, it just does, I believe it's 22 damage, 23. I think it's a good card. It is really good if you have things like All for One, which we're going to be talking about next, and Hologram. So you can use this and then hologram the 0 cost copy of it right into your hand. It can carry in like Act 1 and 2 pretty convincingly. It is a bit annoying to play the 2 cost at the start, but even then, 2 costs for its damage it just isn't that bad. 18 for 2, it's basically 3 strikes. It's not bad, but then it has such a high upside, especially because there's so many ways to bring it back into your hand, and things like Feral make this pretty good. You can, for example, use this, hologram it, play Feral, and then keep casting it. It does a lot of damage over time, and the longer you go into a fight, the more you're going to keep pulling this. So, with cards that have the design where they kind of clone themselves, like Rage, sometimes I'm not too hot on them, but when it does so much damage, I feel like it's almost always a good thing to have more 0 cost versions of this in your deck. So I'm actually going to move this up to strong, not good. I think it's generally something you are happy to add into your deck. And at the end of Act 1 or 2, especially at the end of Act 1, I like adding it if I see it a lot of the time. All for One. So this, I almost want to put in the best cards, but I'll leave it here for now. I might end up moving it up. There are just so many good 0 cost cards in the Defects kit, and this basically makes you play it again. It goes really well with, for example, the status builds. Specifically, I like it with Rocket Kick a lot. You can also sometimes, if you have energy generation, you can play it, hologram it back into your hand, and then play it again. And you can just keep a turn going forever, and it's a good engine to go near infinite and have really long turns and just generate energy with things like turbo, boost away. You can get block. It's just yeah, it's incredible. It's also really good if you're going to build claw. It's also really good with adaptive strike. So for example, say you play adaptive strike on your first turn, and then next turn you pull this, you're going to get the 0 cost copy of adaptive strike into your hand if you play all for one. I just feel like even on decks where you're building more like power orb based, all for one just still has so much usage because there's just 0 cost cards in every deck, and yeah, and it does 10 damage as well, which isn't really the point, but it does do damage as well. I think it's almost always a good take, unless you literally have 0 cost cards, which is pretty rare, especially because Zap upgrades into a 0 cost. Okay, Ball of Lightning, deal 7 damage, channel 1 lightning. I'm going to put it in good. It's really strong in the early game, especially with Zap, which you have in every run. It helps you evoke lightning and generate lightning faster, and it basically does a strike alongside of that. It's just pretty high value for one. Generally speaking, I do like other ways of generating lightning later on in the game, but Ball of Lightning early on is just really good against elites. It's good for evoking both lightning and frost early on, and it just does damage regardless. So very high value. I would consider moving it up to strong, but I'm going to keep it here for now. Barrage. Okay, so if you're not playing around generating orbs at all, then obviously it doesn't do too much. But a lot of the times, especially early on, you are going to have like a couple of ways of generating lightning or frost. And Barrage is then 1 cost, and you're doing 15 damage. And it has the capacity to go up if you have, say, like Capacitor or something. And it also upgrades to do 7 per channeled orb. So it's just a lot of damage for 1 energy. I think it's really strong early game. It can carry you against early elites pretty handily. I generally think it's a really good Act 1 card, and it can also scale really well into late game if you have like many ways of generating orb slots, like maybe you have like Capacitor with Echo Form and stuff. It's really good, or just a lot of capacitors in general. Yeah, it's just a really good 1 cost damage card. I like it quite a lot. Beam Cell, 0 cost, 3 damage, applies a vulnerable. Yeah, I mean, I would value it less than the 2 above it, but I think it's still really good early game to take. It goes really well with things like Meteor Strike, for example, and some of the other large hitting attacks. Like Sunder. I almost want to put this ahead of Ball of Lightning, and it could even go up into Strong. But I still think it's about a tier below, as in, like, I'm not excited to take it. I'm not really going to build around it, but it's just a good card to take, especially it's a 0 cost, so it can go well with things like All for One or even like Hologram if you're out of mana or energy. It's just solid all around. Okay, so we have Bias Cognition, which was one of the better cards in the game in Slay the Spire one in general. You don't have a way of playing Intangible now, so before you were able to play it without losing the focus every turn, and it was just insane. But now you don't really have a way to do that. So it can still, especially in shorter combats, it's definitely worth playing. It's good. I would even put it in strong, but it's worth keeping in mind that it's not as good as it is in Slay the Spire 1, just because you don't have a way to have Intangible, and you are going to suffer from losing energy every turn. And in the longer fights, you'll gradually get weaker, maybe potentially weaker than you were in base, so just be mindful of that. Boost Away. I take this quite often. It's very nice because in the status builds, it can generate a Dazed, which doesn't make you lose energy like Turbo status card, of Void. It can, for example, set a Rocket Kick for you to play it again. Actually, I'm going to put it in Strong. And even if you're not playing around statuses, 0 cost for 6 block is just pretty nice on this character. Actually, no, I'll keep it in good. I think that it is just for 0 cost making 6 block and then just making a Daze. I think that's pretty inconsequential, especially early on. I take Boost Away a lot, even outside of status decks, or just because it's a lot of value. So I'll put it there. Boot Sequence, I will also put in good. It's just 10 block at the start of every fight. Sometimes you have a lot of power cards you want to set up on this character, and you want to just play those in turn 1 or 2, or I guess turn 1 in this case. Being able to block for 0 cost for a pretty significant amount. It goes to, I believe, 13 if you upgrade it. It's just solid turn 1 block. It will take up a turn. I mean, it will take up a spot on your first hand, but that's generally okay because it'll make you take less damage over the course of the run, so it's good. Buffer is pretty interesting. So basically, it's very strong if you upgrade it. It's one of the, I think on this character, a big thing is upgrades are so important on some cards. Buffer literally becomes twice as good if you upgrade it, and it prevents the next 2 times you lose HP. If its upgrade, for example, made it 1 cost, I wouldn't put it up as high, but where I think upgraded, it's so good upgraded. It's like one of the best cards in this kit upgraded. Therefore, I'm comfortable putting it in strong, just because it does definitely need an upgrade to be really good. And there's a lot of enemies that just multi-hit in this game, and therefore it does lose a bit of value there. I will put it at the top of strong though, and I probably will end up moving it up to very strong eventually, but it is so good. Bulk up is interesting in terms of it can be really good in some decks or like really bad in others. It really depends how much you value orb slots and how much defense you're getting from actual cards and how much you're actually playing attack cards. And it's a bad card if you are basically just trying to win from damage from orbs and blocking from orbs, but if you're not, then it's just solid all around. 2 cost for 2 strength and 2 dex, and then upgrade it's 3 and 3. It's just good overall, I think, especially early on. And then like the Act 1 boss and stuff, it just provides so much value. It falls off if you are building around orbs, but I mean, that's not every run, and some runs it's just so good if you are attacking a lot and using actual block cards. Sorry, I need to plug in my headset. So therefore it's a really high upside card and a pretty bad downside card. But I think overall, I think it's a good card. Capacitor, it just gives orb slots, and I'm saying just, but that's actually extremely important. One of the most consistent ways to win in this character is playing power cards. So the merit of being just being a power card alone gives it some sort of merit, because there are ways you can cast it twice in a row with Echo Form. There are things like Mummified Hand, for example, that make playing powers better. There's also that relic that lets you draw another card after playing a power card. Within the kit, there's Subroutine, where if you play a power, you gain energy, which is a very good card, and you're going to take it pretty often. There's things like Storm that channels lightning for playing energy. So just off the merit of being a power, it gets a boost, but also it's one of the only ways to actually get more orb slots. So I'm going to put it in very strong. I like taking it often. Actually, no, I think it belongs around the top of strong. I think I would do like buffer a little bit less. I'll put it here for now. Actually, this is really tough. No, I'm going to keep it in strong. I think All for One is something I value way more. And I think it is relative to around these cards. Chaos, you channel a random orb for 1 cost, and it's a not good card unless it's upgraded. If it's upgraded, it becomes alright, because it channels 2 orbs. Its value doubles by upgrading, but you don't really want to waste an upgrade on this because there's other upgrades that will be way more meaningful. I'm going to put it in meh. I think it's like a below average card unless it's upgraded. Then I would put it in good upgraded, but you really don't want to waste upgrades on this, generally speaking, unless you have some synergy where you just want to evoke a lot, and fair enough, that is valid, but I'm not too high on Chaos. I've taken it a few times if I have like a spare upgrade, but that's about it, or if it came upgraded. Charge Battery, gain 7 block, next turn gain energy. I actually want to put this in very strong. It's probably your best block card, especially early on while you're still figuring out your deck, because it just is a very safe way to get energy, and it's also better than a base block. There's not too much more to be said. It's a lot of value for one cost, and it's pretty much safe to take on any deck. So I'm very high on Charge Battery. It's no downside. Upgraded, it's just a standard defense upgrade if you upgrade it. Just 3 more block, which is fine. You won't usually upgrade it, but it's just solid. Even in decks, for example, where you're generating most of your block from Frost Orbs, it still is really good because it just gives you energy in the following turn. Chill is 0 cost, and it can give you up to like 3 Frost Orbs in a lot of fights. It is really good in those elites like Centipede, or even like easy hallways where there's like 3 or 4 enemies. And upgraded, it doesn't exhaust anymore. So here's the description for it. It basically just doesn't exhaust. For a 0 cost, I mean, it's just very strong. There's almost no downside to taking it, and it can have a lot of value, especially early on. I don't always feel the need to upgrade it. I actually usually don't. I like just using it to maybe evoke more orbs to deal damage, or to survive one of those harder multi-enemy combats. It's almost takeable in any deck unless you're actively losing focus in it from things like bulk up. I'm a pretty big fan. Claw is not really a meme card anymore. I've had builds where it's my primary damage engine with things like Feral and All for One. People have been ranking it pretty highly in Slay the Spire too. I still think it's meh. I don't think it's even average. It's around average. It's like at the high end of E tier. And the reason being is I think that if you are trying to scale damage with 0 cost, there's almost just better ways to do it now. Namely, things like Adaptive Strike are much better if you're playing around 0 cost cards. Things like Rocket Kick become 0 cost, and you can play them and draw cards while you're doing it. It doesn't scale super fast, and I just feel like there are better ways to scale 0 cost attack decks. Even Helix Drill I rank higher than it. I just think that there's better ways to deal damage in that deck archetype, so therefore I'm keeping it in E. Cold Snap, it deals 6 damage and channels a Frost. I just think it's probably the worst way to channel Frost on this character. It's basically the same as a Strike, and if you don't have any focus, then it just doesn't feel that good for 1 energy. It's good early game, sometimes in tandem with things like Ball of Lightning, but I think it's significantly worse because when you have Ball of Lightning early game, you just want to keep on evoking Lightning, and if you're kind of stalling that with Frost Orbs, then it's just not as good. I definitely take it early game pretty often, but I don't think it has a huge impact, and I would say it's around average. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's a card that it's fine to take. Compact. Now, this might shock some people. I'm very high on this card, especially like if I find a compact early game, I will often build around it. It is such an easy way to go infinite on this character. With, say you have like a compact, a few ways of generating statuses, and like 1 or 2 rocket kicks and a hologram, you're basically infinite. I've gone infinite with this quite a few times, and even if you don't go full infinite with it, it makes you make turns go so much longer. And especially upgraded, your fuel draws 2 cards. I'm going to put it in very strong, and even if, for example, you don't have a status deck right away, it's not like a dead card in your deck because it's 1 block better than a standard block, so it's just extremely good. Next is Compile Driver, one of the better commons easily. Deals 7 damage, so for 1 energy, that's already like a little bit better than a Strike, but also it can draw up to 3 orbs. Well, I guess it can drop to like 5 orbs total if you have every orb type in your hand, but generally speaking, even if you just have like Lightning and Frost early game, for 1 energy you can draw 2 cards. And its upgrade, you probably don't want to upgrade it, it just gives 3 more damage, but it's just so good because it makes your deck so consistent. And you're very likely to find one, and you're also very likely going to have at least Lightning and Frost in your deck early game. And if you don't, then it's not worth taking, but It's just so good. I almost want to put it in very strong, but I'm okay with keeping it in strong for now. Yeah, it's might end up going up, but it's one of the better commons easily. I might even be underrating it a bit. I do think there are better ways to draw cards, but it's up there. It's very strong. Consuming Shadow has some niche cases where it's strong. On the basis of being power, it has a bit of a strength, but it's also a 2 cost, so like you need 2 subroutines for it to even be energy neutral. It does channel 2 Dark Orbs, which is cool, but it also evokes the leftmost orb. I never take this. It's just awkward. Sometimes it does things that you don't want to do because sometimes you don't want to evoke your leftmost orb. I'm actually going to put it in bad. I just don't think it's ever really worth playing. It's just not great. There's some niche cases where it might be okay, but it's just bad to me. I've never really gotten it to work, or even I've had runs where it's not terrible, but even then it doesn't actually make a difference or carry the run, so I don't really see the point. Coolant is solid. It's a power card, so based on that merit alone, that helps it, but I find in a lot of decks I'm not channeling too many different kinds of energy. And even in the ones that you are, it's still not giving you that much block. It's giving you like at most like 8 or 10-ish block, which is fine, but late game it won't like carry you, and it still costs an energy to play. If you can play it twice with Echo Form, it's pretty significant, but it's not alone going to like be a block engine for you a lot of the times. So I'm going to put it in average. It for one energy, it can give a lot of value throughout a fight. So actually, I'm going to bump it up to good. I think it's a bit above average, maybe around here. Cool-headed, it channels a frost and draws 2 cards. Very strong. I almost want to put it in one of the best cards, but I'll put it at the top of very strong for now. Actually, I'll put it around here, and that's because I think when it's upgraded, it's one of the best cards in the deck. It just channels a frost and draws 2. It's very little downside. It gives block and draw, 2 things you're never upset to really have. But you do need to upgrade it for it to draw 2. So it's still fine unupgraded, but yeah, you almost can take this in any deck and be happy with it. You can even kind of build around it. Like if you could just get cool-headed and a way to generate energy, you kind of win. I've figured that out. It's very similar in Slay the Spire 1. I liked it a bit more in Slay the Spire 1, but I thought it was like probably one of the best cards in Slay the Spire 1. It still is, but it's just a little bit worse. I really like it. It's one of the very strong cards. Creative AI is one of those win more cards in my opinion, because if you're at the point where you're able to just have 3 energy to play it, and you're also able to just like have the energy to play another power card, it's just I feel like you're already winning at that point, but it still can outright win you some longer combats because you're bound to run into something like an Echo Form, or even you might get a subroutine from it and it makes the other powers you generate free to play. So I will take it a lot of the times, but usually I want it later in a run, and I definitely don't want it in like Act 1. And upgraded, it makes it cost 1 less, which is pretty nice upgrade. But since it's only really useful for me later on, I'm just going to put it in good, or on the top of good specifically. Darkness got changed from Slay the Spire 1 pretty significantly. Basically, you do more than just channel a Dark Orb. You trigger all the Dark Orbs in your hand once, and then upgrade it twice. So it's a really nice card to upgrade. I'm a huge fan of Darkness. It's so good at taking out bosses, especially early on. I have found with a Darkness Plus, you pretty much win the Act 1 boss fight. You just do so much damage with this and then a dual cast, it's a bit ridiculous. If you have something like Hologram, you can kind of just keep playing it as much as possible, and you'll just have Dark Orbs that are going to hit for like 60. Obviously scales with focus as well, so yeah, it's just really good. I want to put it in very strong. I value it higher than all of these. I value it about this much. Yeah. By the way, I wouldn't get too caught up with the order in the tiers. This is just like a rough intuition as far as where I would rank them. I'm sure if I thought more about it, I would switch up their places in the tiers, but where the tier they're in is pretty much how good I think they are. Defense is just, I feel like that's bad in pretty much every deck. Defragment is now a rare card, so that makes it a little bit worse than before, but it also just gives focus, and there's less ways of getting focus now. Well, permanent focus. There's more ways to get temporary focus. Because of that, I think it's just one of the best cards in the kit. It gives you such a valuable stat. It's absurdly good, and upgraded, it literally doubles its value, so you 100% do want to upgrade it, but you're almost always happy to upgrade it. It's probably one of the best upgrades in the entire game, so yeah. Double energy is pretty good. It can be a bit situational. You do probably want to upgrade it, which there's probably better upgrades in the game, but it's much better upgraded because you'll get in like a standard deck, if you play this, you'll get 1 extra energy from doubling from 2, but then it costs 0 if you upgrade it, and then you'll get 6 from it. So that's pretty good. It synergizes well with itself. So sometimes if you have like card draw and a few double energies, it's really good because you can just keep on exponentially growing your energy to the power of 2. So I've definitely had some cool uses with it. It goes well with like Meteor Strike if you have a nice Meteor Strike going in your deck. It does exhaust, which is worth noting. If you get an event where it doesn't exhaust and you have like a hologram or two, you can just go infinite with energy like exponentially. So it does have some pretty cool uses. I'm just going to put it in average for now because I do think it's fine, and it has the potential to be great. But I also think that there's better, safer ways to generate energy on this character. So yeah. Dual Cast is a card that it's a starter card, so that makes you grade it on less of a curve, or like more of a curve. If it were a card reward, I would probably almost never take it that often. But I would say it's about average. If it would be like meh if it were a card reward, but where you're starting with it, you're pretty happy to have it, especially early on. If you dual cast Lightning, you do 18 damage, which is pretty nice, but later on you almost never really find yourself playing it unless you have like a Plasma or like a Dark Orb. So it has some good use cases, but sometimes it just becomes dead weight early on, and its upsides aren't super high. So unless you're using like Darkness or something. So yeah, it's fine. Echo Form is pretty much the same as it was in Slay the Spire 1. Sorry, my headset cut out. It does that sometimes. It's just one of the best cards in the game, not just in the Defects kit. It does cost 3 to play, which can be a bit annoying, but there are ways to make that feel less bad with subroutine, and then there's also things that just make energies cost 0 even. But even playing the 3 costs, and you might take like some damage when you play it, it's just worth it, especially in like boss fights. If you get an Echo Form off, there's a really good chance that you're going to win the combat. So it's just solid. Upgrading it is situational. It just gets rid of the ethereal status on it. And I mean, that's good. But generally speaking, I just play it as soon as I can because the earlier you play it, the more value you're going to get out of it. And I usually don't upgrade it, but it's insane. Playing the first card each turn an extra time, it's just if you have a lot of powers in your deck, if you have like a defrag in your deck, for example, you can play it twice. And aside from that, there's almost no card that you don't want to play twice. And with Meteor Strike, for example, it just goes crazy. Even Echo Form synergizes well with itself because you can play Echo Form and then the next turn you play it and you play it twice, and it's ridiculous. It's one of the most broken cards in the game. I will always take it in pretty much any deck archetype. I'm a huge Echo Form fan. I'll probably always will be. Next is Energy Surge. This is a co-op card. Basically, you're spending 1 and everyone gets 2 energy. So the more the merrier with that. I'm not really going to pay attention to this, but I think it's extremely good. I'll put it in very strong in multiplayer. I'm not going to go into detail though. Feral is situational. It's good if you have 0 costs. It's extremely good with things like Claw or like any high cost or any 0 cost attack. It's a bit annoying to play if it's unupgraded because it costs 2 to play. Especially early on, sometimes it doesn't feel worth it. So you probably do want to upgrade it. The thing is, while Feral is really nice, I feel like All for One just kind of does the same thing, but much better. I like how it goes with FTL a fair bit because you can just draw twice with it, and obviously with Claw, it helps you just stack it up. It's also really good with Rocket Kick. If you play it, you'll keep it in your hand, and then you can play another like Dazed or something, and then you can play Rocket Kick again. So Feral's it's just really good with 0 cost cards, but obviously there's some times where it's just useless. Because while you probably will have 0 cost cards in your deck, they're not necessarily going to be 0 cost attacks. So it requires setup. At its best, it's almost like one of the best cards, but at its worst, it's just a curse. And on like the average deck, if you find it early on, you can kind of build around it. I'm going to put it near the top of good, I think. Yeah, I think that's about right. Although there are some cases where, yeah, it's just like when I've had it with like Rocket Kick, sometimes it's just been ridiculous. Borderline like run winning with this and Rocket Kick in ways to make a Rocket Kick 0 cost. Fight Through is a strong card, I would say. You get 13 block for 1 energy. You do add 2 wounds to your deck, but also I think that that's a positive in some cases where if you have things like Compact, you kind of want that. And even still, you have so much card draw in its base kit that you're not too worried about status cards. And the status cards that you do get from this are wounds, and therefore they aren't like sucking energy out of you like the voids from Turbo. So I'm going to put this around the bottom of strong. I generally like it early on. It can prevent you from taking a lot of damage. And sometimes just making these status cards is a good thing. And the amount of block it gives for 1 energy is just pretty crazy. So yeah. Flak Cannon is next. I actually am not as hot in like a full status deck with this because basically I think Compact kind of does what it does in a way, but a bit better because it helps you go infinite, which in turn deals more damage. But say you just have like a couple of turbos or like dazed in your deck, and late game you find one of these, and you're playing maybe around more so like orbs. It's really solid. Then it just gets rid of all the statuses in your deck, and it does a fair bit of damage with it. I wish it hit everything. Like if it were upgraded, I wish it hit everything for each status exhausted. It just feels underwhelming a lot of the time because a lot of these statuses do exhaust if they're in your hand at the end of the turn. They just exhaust like dazed. Things like Wound go well with it because they don't. Things like Voids are ethereal as well. Too many of those. If statuses weren't ethereal as much, it would be much better. It also does cost 2, so it can be a bit annoying to play. I think it's a bit overrated, but also I would still consider it strong, and you can even build around it sometimes, and it's just if you want to have a few status cards in your deck, it's a way to keep them from messing up your hands, but it also does cost 2 to play, so I feel like it could even use a bit of a buff. As in, I think the upgrade should make it hit everything. I think that'd be cool, but oh well. That's just my opinion on it. I had a really high opinion of it when I first started playing Defect in A10, but it kind of went down over time, so yeah. Focus Strike, you deal 9 damage and you gain a focused temporary 1 focus. I think it's around an average card. So for 1 energy, dealing 9 damage is pretty good. Also, it's a common, so that makes you graded at a bit of a curve. I think upgraded it's really good because it gives 2 focus instead of just 1. I think that's a really nice upgrade, and it also gives you the standard 3 more damage, or I guess 2 more damage in this case. But it's a good early game card to go with things like Ball of Lightning. Um, Generally loses its value as the game progresses, but yeah, I don't take it super often, but it's fine. Like it's I wouldn't call it good. It's just average. I would take a lot of other commons above it, like Barrage, Compile Driver. Yeah. FTL, deal 5 damage. If you have played fewer than 3 cards this turn, draw 1 card. And its upgrade is pretty good as well. You have a window of 4 cards, and it deals 1 more damage. FTL is one of the better 0 costs. It's basically just free damage because you're just going to draw another card a lot of the times after you use it. And at worst, you don't draw another card and it's just 0 cost for 5 or 6 damage. I think it helps a lot early game. I think it goes really well with things like Feral because you can keep drawing. And even if, say, you play it and then you play All for One and then you can play it again, it just helps in general with card draw and it's a lot of free damage. I almost always take it. I almost view it as a card that you can just fit into pretty much any deck. I almost want to put it around here. It's strong. Like it's better than good. Fusion is interesting. I think that paying 2 for 1 plasma is not a good deal. I think paying 1 energy for a plasma is a really good deal. It goes well into certain decks, especially if you're playing Meteor Strikes and stuff. You can evoke other plasma orbs and then replace it with a plasma orb. It's a bit situational, and it's definitely something that requires an upgrade. So I'm gonna put Fusion in Meh because it's kind of similar to Chaos in the sense that you want to upgrade it to make it worth using, but also it has some pretty high upsides in more niche builds. I think that there's other ways to generate plasma with things like Meteor Strike, but I've had good uses with it. Genetic Algorithm is one of those that is just extremely hard to rank. It got a pretty significant nerf from being a rare pool. Obviously, if you get it like from an Act 1 relic, it's just insanely good because by the end you'll be blocking like I believe it's like around 60 usually with it if you upgrade it. But that being said, if you get it like at the end of Act 1 though, it's still really strong. It's just not as good as it was in Slay the Spire 1, and there are events to remove the exhaust. If you happen to get that, then you're basically immortal if you can like put it back into your hand with hologram or something. But for now, I would just put it in strong, and there are cases where it's actually, you know what? Yeah, I put it in strong. I feel like this is about right. You probably do want to upgrade it if you find it early on, because long term it will just give you significantly more block. But it also gets to the point where like late game, nothing is hitting you for like 100 damage unless you're facing like the experiment boss. It can block a whole lot later on. There aren't really any ways to carry over block on this character, which kind of sucks. If there was, it would be much better. If this was like an ironclad card, it would be insane, but obviously it's not. It's also a bit of a chore to play for your first couple of combats. But overall, I would say it can save your ass a lot, so not bad. Glacier got nerfed from Slay the Spire 1, less block, but it's still just, you're getting so much block for 2 energy. Scales with focus, evokes other orbs by channeling 2. Upgrades it. I usually don't upgrade it, but yeah, I mean, it's just, I would put it in strong for sure. Actually, you know what? I'll put it at the bottom of very strong. It's just almost like a 1-card block engine, especially if you have focus. It evokes other orbs so it can deal damage. It's just, this card's going to keep you alive whether you find it early or late. You almost always are cool with adding a Glacier if you're playing around orbs. And a lot of the times you are, so I think it's very strong. Glasswork is also quite good. I think glass orbs in general, especially early on, do so much in your AoE combats, but they fall off a bit later on. You also just get like a standard block with it. I think glass orbs do so much, and therefore I'm going to put it in good. It's probably one of the better early game cards, and it's not the best way to generate glass orbs, but I like it in general, but it's not like a run-defining card. Go for the Eyes is quite good. 0 cost, you deal a little bit of damage, but it's not about the damage, it's about applying weak. I think it's the only way to apply weak in the Defects kit. So on that merit alone, it's quite good. It also synergizes well with things that are enabling you to play 0 cost attacks more than once. I probably like it more than Claw in most decks, unless I have like quite a few Claws. Oh, wait, to go back to Claw for a second, you need a few Claws a lot of the time to really make it worth it, and you can't really guarantee you're going to find a lot of them. So that's another reason why I don't rank it too highly. I'd put Go for the Eyes in around average, because while weak is valuable, especially early on, I think there's a lot of ways to generate block on this character, whether it's Frost Orbs or some of the better block cards in this kit. So I don't value weakness as much unless it's early game. And upgrading is really nice on it because it applies to weak, but you probably don't want to put an upgrade into this, especially because for things like Zap, you have other early game upgrades that you want to prioritize, like Zap. Like I really like upgrading Zap early on. Gunk Up is a common that deals 12 damage for 1 energy. It's so good in early combats. Upgraded, it does 15. It also generates a status. I think this card is good. Near the top of good, even. I would put it around here. You can do so much damage with it with some things like Rocket Strike or Smokestack. It only costs 1 and it deals a lot of damage for that 1 energy, and it also scales with things like Strength really well because it hits more than once. I'm generally pretty happy to take it early on, and it scales well with the status decks. So, and if you don't go into status decks, it still can do a lot for you early on to survive. So it's just good. I think it's better than average for sure. Hailstorm. At the end of your turn, if you have Frost, deal 6 damage to all enemies, and it does 8 if you upgrade it. Hailstorm is about average, I would say. Early on, it can definitely carry you a fair bit, especially if you have things like Glacier and Cool Headed and Chill and you're just trying to like stall. It does cost an energy to play. It does AoE damage, which is pretty nice now that Lightning can't really hit for AoE anymore. If you can stack, like I've had runs where I had like 4 of these, I think, and that's pretty nice. You just stall and block, but it would be better if, for example, deal 3 damage for every Frost Orb in your hand. It doesn't scale with how many you have, so on that basis, it's not doing too much over the course of a combat on average, I think. So, especially since a lot of combats don't last a very long time because a lot of them scale too quickly. So, I think it's about an average card. I almost want to put it down here. Actually, I'll keep it an average just on the merit of it being a power. It's generally not negative to play. Helix Drill, I'm going to put it at the top of strong. I think this is really underrated. Actually, I'll put it at the bottom of very strong. I've had this. Actually, I have a video up where this is literally hitting for like hundreds of damage in 1 turn sometimes, because a lot of the times on this character you were going very long turns with spending a lot of energy to draw. I find it's pretty common to actually do a lot of damage for this 0 cost early on. It also is a 0 cost, so it's good with things like Feral. It's good with things like All for One, especially All for One, because All for One always costs 2 to play, so it goes well with it. Yeah, I'm comfortable putting Helix Drill in very strong. I'm almost always happy to take it. It goes well into every deck. It's just really good, extremely high upside, and there's not really any downsides. It's just extremely good. Actually, the more I think about it, I want to move it near here, I think. Yeah, I would put it all the way up here. I think it's exceptional. I think it's extremely underrated. I don't think people really see the value in it, but I've always done well with it when I took it. Next card, it's the best card in this kit. I don't really know what else to say. You probably do want to upgrade a lot of the time, but even if you don't, it's fine. You just take a card in your discard pile and put it back in your hand. I don't even want to list all the synergies it has in this deck. It's just ridiculous. It also gives you block. I feel like they could even remove the block and it would still just be like a top tier card. you can cycle through things like Voltaic. You can use it to play like All for One again and just keep infinites going. You can use it to, for example, put like a rocket kick or rocket punch back in your hand. You can use it to put a compact back in your hand in the status build. It's literally always a card you want to take. You almost want to have as many of these as possible. It's ridiculous. I don't really know what else to say. It's strong. It's just, I'll always want a hologram or two in any deck. I'll pretty much always be happy to take it. I don't really know what else to say. Hello World is, well, it's not like an actual card that is in the silence, or that's in the defects pool, so I'm going to ignore ranking that, but I think it's not great when I have had it from the event. I'll just put it like here, I guess. It's probably a mech card. I don't want to waste too much energy on it. Hotfix is a card that was nerfed in the beta patch, so now this exhausts, and when you upgrade it, it doesn't exhaust anymore. It used to be really good. Now I would say it's like meh, because it takes up a slot in your hand, and it's only temporary focus. If you're like infinite, then it's decent, but then you actually need to have it upgraded as well, because otherwise you won't draw into it again. Like a lot of the times you were going near infinite and just playing this like more than once in a turn, or like using like hologram to play it again. But now you need to upgrade it, and that's a bit annoying. And the upgrade now doesn't even give more focus. So I think Hotfix probably went from like a good card to like a not good card. So that's how I feel about it. I would put it around here, I think. I don't take it very often anymore, unless it's upgraded. If it's upgraded, I'll happily take it, but yeah, it's not great. It also doesn't fit into some decks. It does go well with All for One. That's something I've noticed, but you also need to upgrade it there too, so yeah. Hyper Beam is, if you get it from like your Act 1 relic, then yeah, it's provides a lot of value, but you lose 3 focus for it. That's pretty detrimental if you don't end the fight with it. It also costs 2 for that amount of damage, and obviously does a lot. And there's some AoE fights that you really want it for, like Centipede or something. I'm going to say in a lot of decks you also don't want it. It feels like later on it can bloat the status decks because you don't really want things that have high energy costs. It's definitely like an Act 1 kind of like God card, and even like Act 2 it can do a lot, but I don't think it usually does enough later on. So yeah, if this is like an Act 1 tier list, it would probably be like one of the best, but even then though, a lot of the bosses have high HP, so if you cast it, you're kind of putting yourself in a bad spot. I'm gonna put it in, yeah, actually I would put it in good. I would put it around here probably. And if you find it early on, it kind of pigeonholes you out of playing orbs, because you're gonna lose 3 focus, so a lot of your orbs just aren't doing anything anymore, so. Yeah, there's a really bad downside with this. And say you get this early on, and then you just keep on getting given like good orb cards, you either need to like stop playing it or just try to not take them. Ice Lance is basically you're just playing 3 Frost Strikes in one turn. It's a little bit better than that actually, by like 1 damage. I'm gonna put it in average. I don't think I think it's about. Sorry, I didn't mean Frost Strike. I meant Cold Snap. I think it's about the same as Cold Snap. That's pretty much it. It just costs for a rare card. It just costs a lot, and upgraded it does a fair bit more damage, sure, but I don't know. It's just not always something I want to take. It's usually something I don't want to take, or like 50-50, and it's not run winning. It basically makes you just play this early game. If you have it early game, it's pretty much the only card you can play in your turn, and it doesn't provide that much block. It's only 6 block, and a lot of the times you're going to take damage if you just play this against like an elite or even like an early combat. I'm not too hot on Ice Lance. I would probably rank it even a bit lower than Cold Snap just by 1 spot, because Cold Snap doesn't pigeonhole your turn as much into only doing that, because you can play Cold Snap in like a couple of blocks if you want to block for 12. Okay. Ignition is the next one. Another player channels plasma. It's one of those very strong co-op cards. I'm not going to really talk about it. Iteration, the first time you draw a status card, each turn you draw 2 extra cards. I think even if you just have like 1 or 2 status generating cards like turbos and stuff in your deck, it's still really good. And the upside is if you are playing a status-based deck with like rocket kicks, compact, etc., you're getting a lot of value out of it. Pretty much every turn you're going to draw 2 extra. So that's huge. You're basically that's just a lot of value for 1 energy. I think it goes into strong probably around here. I almost want to put it in very strong. It also is a power, so that gives it merit on its own. It's just really good. I think people underrate it in non-status decks. I think if you find it, then it actually gives you the opportunity to take some good status cards like turbos or days. It's just, I take this a lot even in non-status decks, and then it lets me comfortably build into some really good high-value status cards. So yeah, it's really good. Leap is basically 2 blocks for 1 energy. I think it's like a bit of an Act 1 hero. It basically just provides a lot of block early on. It's just a much better defend, but also it's still not like incredible. I would put it in around the average. I don't think it's better than any of the cards in good. I think it's around the top of average. I'm usually happy to take it. Even later on, sometimes if I just feel like my block is lacking and I see a leap, I'm like, all right, I'll just take it, and it does its job. So yeah, just a better way to block. Lightning Rod. Gain 4 block at the start of your next turn, channel 1 lightning. So it's basically a block, but you channel 2 lightning over the course of 2 turns. It goes really well with things like Voltaic. It's very strong early on, and it's also a common. It's not like game breaking or game defining a lot of the time, but I'm generally happy to take this early on. It's a bit more of an offensive card than a defensive one, although obviously its main thing is it's giving block at the face value, but yeah, I think it's quite good. I would rank it around here. Yeah, I would probably put it around this spot. With things like Voltaic, it has a pretty high upside, but even then, it's limited to only generating 1 lightning per turn, no matter what. If you could like stack these effects, like if you played like 2 lightning rods and then you generate like 1 lightning and then another lightning in the same turn, then it would be extremely strong. But it just stacks on top of itself. So due to that, it's a bit limited, but it's still a pretty safe take. Almost always in Act 1. Loop, at the start of your turn, trigger the passive ability of your rightmost orb. I mean, it's pretty good with plasma. And oh, when you upgrade it, it does it twice. So, or it evokes it another time. Goes well with like darkness and stuff, but I feel like now that you have like darkness as a card that already does basically this, but more consistently, I don't know. I think it's a below average card. It's one of the worst powers. The only thing that's keeping it from being like bad almost is the fact that it's a power. Although it didn't save the Consuming Shadow. Consuming Shadow can genuinely be detrimental a lot of the time, but yeah. I think I'm comfortable leaving it around here. Machine Learning is, when you upgrade it, it's innate, and basically you draw an additional card at the start of every turn. It's pretty much nice to have in any deck. It's also a power card, and it just makes your deck more consistent, especially if you get to play it at the start of your combat. If you have it upgraded, over the course of your combat, you're probably going to draw like 4 or 5 extra cards as a result of this, and you'll just have consistent hands throughout the whole combat. I'm going to put it in the top of good, I think. It's just, actually, you know what? I'll put it at the bottom of strong. I feel like it's just something you're happy to have in almost any deck, so yeah, it's nice. You can also, I also think it's worth upgrading. You want to use it as early as possible. Meteor Strike. Okay, so this is obviously like a very hit or miss card. If you can play it, it's like the best card, maybe? No, it's one of the best cards if you can play it. What I have noticed in Slay the Spire 2 is that if you find it, it's very easy to set it up such that you can play it. There are a lot of ways to generate energy on this character. There's also like Hologram to put it back into your hand if you didn't play it in your last turn. I'm willing to put this in very strong around here, I think, because every time I've taken it, I have managed, like there's maybe been like a brief period in the run where I can't play it, but I always try to get it set up so that I can play it. And if you have a hologram with it, then yeah, it's just really good. It also goes crazy with Helix Drill. I had a run on my channel, obviously, where I set it up with that, and it's really good. And if you do manage to get it off, you're just going to be pretty secure with energy for the rest of the combat a lot of the time, if you're smart with your plasma orbs. So I think it's better in this game than in Slay the Spire 1, and I usually will take it, even if I don't really have a way to play it right away. It's very easy to find a way to play it. Upgrade. I don't really think it's worth upgrading. You're not. While the damage is nice, you're usually playing it for the plasma plus the damage, the plasma being the biggest part. And if you can play it twice in a turn with a hologram, then yeah, it's like perfect. But that's not obviously consistent. Modded is really good. It's just a zero cost with pretty much no downside. I don't really know what else to say about it. It gives an orb slot, which is kind of rare, aside from like Capacitor. You draw a card, and if you upgrade, it draws by 2. Granted, it's probably something you only want to use like twice or 3 times in a combat, but basically, if you cast it like twice in a combat, you're getting such insane value out of it because you're drawing 2 without creating a status or anything, and you're getting 2 extra orb slots. It's just something you're pretty much always happy to have in your deck. Even if you're not playing around orbs, just having a zero cost card, well, initially zero cost card that can draw 2 cards is just really good. I'm going to put this in very strong. It's actually a lot of very strong cards, huh? Well, that's okay. Momentum Strike is kind of like a scuffed version of Adaptive Strike. That's how I see it. It's still fine. 1 energy, and you're dealing 10 damage. Upgraded, I believe it does 13 or 14, and it costs 0 afterwards. Yeah, I just think that there's better zero cost attacks to build around, and it's not zero cost right away. So you can't, like, if you get Feral early on and then you see this in your hand, you're still not gonna be able to play it again. And if you're trying to like have a longer combat, then its upside isn't as high as say like Claws, for example, because Claws scales harder. And yeah, when there's just like a blatantly better version of the card in the same deck, being like Adaptive Strike. I know they're not 1-to-1, but conceptually very similar. I don't know. I take it. If I take it sometimes. I think it's sometimes just like a good filler card in a deck, especially early on. I feel like that's the case with a lot of the commons in Defect's kit. They're just really good early game. They survive the early game for you, and then you kind of transition out of them, and they eventually start bloating your deck a bit. Yeah, no, I think it's probably. I would put it in around the top of average, but I'm sure I could be convinced to move it up to good, and its upside is pretty high, but there's just. I apologize about that. My headset's having issues again. I'm going to get a new mic soon, so hopefully that helps. Multicast is a very situational card. It's really good if you have a lot of energy, but it doesn't do a lot, for example, if you have like a lightning orb with no focus. So it scales well with focus. It scales well with darkness as well. But the thing is, I think darkness itself is the best way to evoke dark orbs now. So I don't know. It's very situational. I don't really care for it. It's I don't know. I've taken it quite a few times, and I'm usually a bit let down by it. Upgraded it is X+1 times, so upgraded it's like just like a good take overall, but you do need to waste an upgrade on it, and I feel like other cards have a higher upside to upgrading. I'm gonna put this in meh. I think it's like a slightly below average rare card. One of the rare cards I almost never take anymore after trying to make it work a lot of times. I've even like specifically tried to build around it, and like the upside is just not that high because focus is just much harder to come around in this, and so evoking an orb is just not as good as it used to be in Slay the Spire 1. So null is I don't know how to rank this card fully because sometimes it feels like it's just doing so much, but then other times I feel like it costs too much to play, but it applies 3 week upgraded, like 13 damage and gives you a Dark Orb. Like just the sheer amount of value you get out of this, it's pretty insane. It also scales well with darkness because you can keep evoking the orb you make from it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I think it's a very strong card. It can do it just does so much. I don't really know. It does scaling damage over the course of a fight. It also weakens and does like decent front loaded damage. Like it just does so much. I'd put it around here, I think. Yeah, I'm comfortable putting null here. I take it very often. Overclock is draw 2 cards and add a burn into your discard pile. Burns are definitely the most annoying status card aside from Void, but also you're just drawing 2 cards for nothing. That's insane. There's also lots of ways to get rid of status cards or make use of them with things like iteration and like let's see, or flat cannon or compact. And even sometimes it's obvious it's good to have status cards in certain decks. So yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a very strong card. I don't know what else to say about it. It's one of the kind of the staples of the status, and even not in status decks, it's still just good to take because it just makes your deck more consistent, and it's very easy to put into any deck. I've only taken Quadcast once. I think it's kind of situationally good, but it evokes your right most orb 4 times, so it's just doing absurd damage and upgraded at cost 0. I believe in it. I believe it's always upgraded. So, I mean, if you get this at the start of Act 2, it's just really good. It obviously scales with focus and things. It's kind of similar to multicast. That's how I view it, but it's just like a much better version of multicast. I don't think it's bad to take because I think Act 2 relics are a bit weak in general, so I'm going to put it around the bottom of strong. I think it's just absurdly strong. It might fall off a bit later, but yeah, especially if you have like plasma or something, you can really get some insane energy gen going. I've only taken this twice, I think, so it's fine. Rainbow, channel a light, a frost, and a dark for 2, and upgraded, it doesn't exhaust anymore, so it does exhaust when played. It's if you're playing a orb-based deck, it's a solid way to generate orbs, but also it costs 2, which is really annoying, and it's not giving you plasma. And so sometimes it just feels like it's not worth the 2 energy, and it feels like there's other things you can spend energy on that provide much more value. I don't really get why this is a rare card either. I feel like you could almost make this like a common. But for a rare card, I'm gonna say it's like almost below average, and even like making it not exhaust is just not good. I almost want to put this around like here. It just doesn't do much. I wish it gave like a plasma orb instead of a dark. I think then it would be like a good rare card, a very good rare card. But yeah, I don't know. It's just not good. Reboot is really good for going infinite. Same as Slay the Spire 1. I think it's something that's really good to upgrade because you draw 2 more cards. It shovels all your cards back into your draw pile. So say you played a card and then you might want to play it again in the same turn, like maybe like a Meteor Strike, or basically you can like resurrect turns from the dead with this. I don't see why you wouldn't take it in almost any deck other than like status decks, but even then it's fine. I would put this around the top of A tier. I think it can, like, I've had so many hands revive through Reboot, and it goes especially well with the amount of energy generation and card draw you have in this kit. So yeah, I think it's even better than it was in Slay the Spire 1. Rebound is a card that is from an event. It's a relic card or a ancient card. I don't know. I'll just put it in like average. I think it's a decent card to take. Well, actually, it's probably I haven't actually used Rebound more than once in Slay the Spire 2, so I usually take the relic from this event. So maybe it's better than I'm anticipating, but I'm open to being wrong about this, and I likely am. I just don't really care to talk about a card that I haven't actually used very much. Refract is a pretty strong way to make glass orbs, and it also is a multi-attack. It hits twice. It does cost 3 energy, so you kind of want to like end a combat with this, or like play it for the sake of ending a combat faster. So it's good against like Wriggler's second stage, for example. And it does a lot of damage. It deals 18 and then also 2 glass orbs. It's one of those cards that I've gotten early on, and then I've gotten Slither with it, and it like carries the game. But if you look at its cost, it's the same cost as Sunder, and I think it almost does like a bit more than that a lot of the time. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm pretty high on glass cards in general. I'm gonna put this as like good and upgraded. It's like its upgrade is probably not worth upgrading a lot of the time. I wish I channeled like an extra glass orb with that. I just don't like 3 cost cards in general unless they're like Echo form, you know? So it's still good though. If you have energy generation to support it, then it's fine. But I feel like it's almost like a win more card at that point. But still, I think it's above average. I like it more than pretty much all of these. Yeah, this feels about right for me. Rip and Tear. This isn't even in the kit anymore. I haven't. What? Maybe this was early on and it got removed. I don't see Rip and Tear anymore, so I don't really care to rank it. I'm sure it's not in his kit because I've played so many runs. I would have seen it. Yeah, I don't know. Not too hot on it. Rocket Punch is next. So this might sound insane. Rocket Punch upgraded is. I think Rocket Punch is like run winning pretty much almost a lot of the time. It's so easy to find ways to put statuses into your hand. This card makes you go infinite so easily a lot of the time. It draws 2 cards. It costs nothing. It scales well with things like All for One. It does great with Feral. It does well with statuses. Even in decks where you're not really building solely around statuses, it still does a lot because you can put like a turbo, for example, and then play this and just draw more. And it also does like good damage. Does more than 2 strikes for 2 energy. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just obscenely strong. It's insane. I don't know how other people are rating this fully, but I think it's genuinely one of the best cards in the game. I see a Rocket Punch, I pretty much click it. It's that simple. And if I don't have statuses in my deck, I'll take some just for the sake of this card. And even if you're paying 2 for it, it's still fine. Like you're still drawing 2 and dealing 14 damage. It's overpowered. I don't know what else to say. It's so good. Scavenge is gutted from Slay the Spire one because it's a speculative card, I like to call them, where you get things in the following turn. It gives energy in the next turn. It just feels very unsatisfying to play now. You can use it to exhaust bad cards, but it's only 1 at a time, so it exhausts slowly. It doesn't help too much with infinites. I usually won't take it. I'll say I have like a curse or something that I want to exhaust. The energy gain isn't like substantial. It also does cost an energy to play, and its upgrade isn't super high upside because you just get an extra energy the following turn. Yeah, it's a below average card. I almost want to put it in bad now. I think it's a bad card. Yeah, I'll put it in bad. I really would rather have like a defend over it, to be honest. I don't think it's a good card at all. There's like very rare situations where like you're going to be able to play a Meteor Strike in the next turn and it's good. But yeah, no, I really don't think it's good. I would rather every other E tier card over this. It's the worst way to generate energy. Scrape is situationally overpowered. I feel like it kind of does what All for One does, but in a worse way. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's also a uncommon, so you'll find it more often. You do need a lot of 0 cost cards to make it worth it, and you can also discard some cards that you maybe want to play that don't cost 0. And for example, Feral, say you're playing a 0 cost deck and you have Feral and you really want to play it, and then you play this and you just discard it, then you're not going to be able to play Feral for a while unless you have like a hologram or something. So it's very hit or miss because sometimes you might just get like 4 claws from this, and then you're like, oh my god, it's the best card ever. But sometimes it can like completely screw you over, and it's hard to plan around. So Unless you have holograms, then you can do it more consistently because you don't really care what you discard. Overall, I definitely think it's better than any of the average cards. I think it's better than most of the good cards, especially if you build around it. And even so, you're probably going to have some decent zero-cost cards in your deck anyways. I would put it around here, I think. Also, it does fine damage for one cost. I like it. I think I might have like a personal preference towards it, but it might be worse than I'm expecting or worse than I'm speculating, because it can definitely screw you over. Shadow Shield is 2 costs for basically 2 blocks plus 1 block, and you channel a Dark Orb. It's a really good card if you're trying to like stall almost. It also scales well with Darkness, and it goes well with Null as well. I would put this around the bottom of Strong. Not even the bottom, actually. I would put it like here. I really do like Shadow Shield. I think Dark Orbs have a lot of ways to pop off in this game, and you're also just getting fine block from it. Its upgrade just gives it 14 block, I believe, so that's nice too. Or 15 block, yeah, it's good. Shatter has a new card art now in the beta, and the new card art is sick. Like, it's so much better than this. But also, Shatter, for 1 cost, you're dealing 11 to all enemies. That's really good. You're also evoking all of your orbs, so basically you could like nuke with this. I really like it with glass orbs in like AoE combats. I like it also with dark orbs if you have like, it goes well with like Capacitor and whatnot. I think it's just solid all around. Even if you're not really playing around orbs at all, just like a 1 cost card that will deal 11 damage to all enemies and like evoke your starting lightning, it's really strong. I want to put it around here, I think, around the top of Strong. It's just really good all around. You're pretty much happy to take it a lot of the time. There are better rare cards, like the ones up here and up here, but it's just, yeah, it's solid. Signal Boost, the next power you play is played an additional time. So really, this is only super good if you have another power that you want to play twice. So it's a bit situational. Has a really high upside, but also it's a bit awkward to play, because then say you use that and you have a specific power in mind you want to play with it, then you kind of need to not play other powers until you find it. So I find that makes it a bit awkward. Its upgrade is really good. It makes it cost 0, so there's almost no downside. So I'm going to put it in average for now, with the potential to be bad and the potential to be quite good. Like, for example, if you have a signal boosted echo form, then yeah, that's pretty crazy. Or even if you have like I don't know, a creative AI with a signal boost, like it's just good. But then also you might have a signal boost and you play it on like, I don't know, a loop. It's not incredible for a rare, especially. Like, I'm grading it on a bit of a curve because of that. Yeah, I don't know. It's not great. Skim, I don't really know how much I need to go into detail for this. It's just card draw for 1 energy. Upgraded it draws 4. It's just, I'll put it up here. It's insane. It goes into literally any deck. You're always going to take it. Yeah, I'm sure most players know why card draw is just extremely important. It's an uncommon, and it can draw 4 cards for 1 energy upgraded. I don't really know what else to say. You see it and you click it. It's that simple. Okay, next we have Smokestack, where every time you summon a status or create a status card, you deal 5 damage to all enemies. I'm really high on a lot of the status cards. I think it goes well with things like Gunk Up, for example. I would put this around the top of, I'm going to put it around the top of good tier, because it's a power. It can do a lot of damage. It can almost be like a soul damage source a lot of the times if you're like really spamming like 0 cost cards that create a status like Dazed or Turbo, and then maybe you're playing it with like All for One. Like, it can do a lot of damage in 1 turn. But even if you're not having like an insane synergistic build with it, it's fine. I think it's a really good card, but not strong card. It's just a good. Because I think Iteration is another status card, but I think this brings more value on average to a deck that isn't built around like pure status synergies, because it just provides card draw, which is good to pretty much any deck. So that's why, for example, I would have it a bit higher than Smokestack. Spinner is making you a glass orb at the start of every turn. I would put this in very strong. Maybe around the bottom of very strong. Glass orbs are just really good. It is automatically generating a orb every turn, which, I mean, sometimes you'll play this and you'll probably, for 1 energy, you're going to make like 7 or 8 orbs. And glass orbs, by the way, are probably some of the strongest orbs in the game. It's not really worth upgrading. It just summons a glass orb right away, so it's also something that doesn't really take an upgrade. It's also a power card, so it has the power synergies like I mentioned earlier. Yeah, I don't know. It's super solid all around. You're going to be able to evoke more orbs with it. You're going to do great in AoE combats, and I don't really understand how it's could go like below here when I look at the cards below it. Actually, I'm going to put Shatter at the very top of strong now that I'm looking at it again. Stack is, well, I really liked it in Slay the Spire one, but it's also an event card, so I'll just put it in like good or something. I don't really know. I don't really like that event where like you get an old relic or an old card. I've had some interesting stuff with it, but yeah, I'm not going to go into detail with this. Storm is pretty average, I'd say. It has a really good upside if you have like a Echo form going and you have like a few of them and they're upgraded. Storm is one of the cards, by the way, where when you upgrade it, it doubles its value. So an upgraded Storm is quite good. A non-upgraded Storm is not great. If you have no other powers in it, you almost can't. You need to have like a few powers in your deck to actually take it comfortably, unless you want to take it speculatively. But then it's just, I don't know, it's just awkward to have in a lot of decks. And even then, channeling lightning isn't that huge of a deal unless you're specifically playing around a deck that has like Voltaic and stuff, where you're trying to like just kill very fast with lightning. It goes well with things like Echo Form, though, I will say that. And if you have multiple of them, it's really good. It also goes quite well with the Thunder Power. So it's a pretty high upside card. In niche settings, it's like extremely good, but even then, I find those are pretty rare. So I generally think it's one of the lesser good powers in the game. In fact, I would put it lower. I'd put it down here. I think it's worse than Hailstorm. Yeah, I think it's worse than all of these cards. I think it's even worse than Loop. I'd put it around here. Has a higher upside than Loop for sure, but on average it's probably worse. From my experience, at least. Okay, Strike is, I think I'd just, from principle, I would put Strike in bad pretty much always. In fact, I think defense is significantly better. My strategy that has been working really well on Defect is removing as much strikes as possible, like no matter what. I will never remove a defense. I'm just going to remove strikes. You almost always want to deal damage with lightning, if possible, early on. And then you want to put other attacks into your hand later. And I just feel like strikes always bloat your deck and they never provide too much value unless you have like a way to apply vulnerable with what do you call it? With Beam Cell. Yeah, I don't know. I just think strike is bad. Subroutine, especially upgraded, it's really good. I would put this around the top of strong, yeah. Basically, if you play one of these, you'll be able to play most energies for free. And I just take as many subroutines as possible all the time, because then you can even generate energy from playing power cards. It's one of the reasons why power cards are just so good in general on Defect. Yeah, it's just makes your deck much less energy intensive, especially if you have a lot of power cards. It provides so much value. I think it's very good, but not like going to win you a run kind of good, you know? You're just very happy to have it a lot of the times. Sunder deals 24 damage, and if it kills an enemy, you basically get your energy back, and it costs 3. Yeah, so it's a bit situational. It's definitely a bit of an Act 1 hero where like you can do a lot in the early combats because they have health where 24 damage is pretty significant. It's either like half their health or almost all of it. Um, I'm usually happy to take Sunder over most of the average cards, but when I look at the good pool, I would probably put it around here. I like a beam cell more than actually. I think I even like it a bit more than Hyper Beam. Yeah, I think around here is good. Like it's a above average card. It definitely falls off. It's basically like playing 4 strikes for the cost of 3, but it's not like incredible. It's fine. Super critical. It's just energy, free energy. Goes well with a lot of the high cost cards like Echo Form or Meteor Strike. I don't really know what else to say. It's just one of the best cards in the kit. There's a lot of card draw, so like you can put the energy you are making to use. Um, yeah, it's cracked. It's kind of like the Skim of energy generation in a way. It's a no-brainer. You pretty much see super critical and you'll take it. It goes into any deck. It's really good. The only issue is sometimes you won't have like the card draw to support it. You'll end the turn with excess energy, but then it's pretty easy to find card draw in its kit, and that becomes much more valuable. So it's OP. Sweeping Beam, it is an AoE attack. It's basically striking every enemy for 1, and you're drawing a card. I like Sweeping Beam around the top of average, I think. I think that it's one of the lesser commons in its kit. Its upgrade isn't great. It is a form of AoE damage, which is nice, and it also does draw just 1 card. I think if it upgraded and drew 2 cards, it would be like extremely good, but yeah, no, it's just like a weaker form of card draw in the kit, and it's usually something I'll only take in like Act 1 to survive. It's not something that scales into late game. It doesn't really have any good synergies, so yeah, it's about average. I think I like Momentum Strike a bit more actually, so I'll put it around here. I think this is about right. Yeah, I'll do that. Synchronize, gain 2 focus for each unique orb you have, and it exhausts. And when you upgrade it, it no longer exhausts. I don't know. I don't take it very often. I don't think it's bad. For 1 energy, you can get a fair bit of value out of it, but it takes basically you already having multiple different kinds of orbs. Maybe you have like a few different orb slots, and it almost feels like a win more at that point, and it doesn't always feel necessary. I wish maybe it was like a 0 cost card that gave 1 extra focus for each different orb type. And a lot of the times you don't have too many different orb types unless you have like Trash to Treasure and stuff. Or sometimes, I guess it depends. I've never really taken it and been happy with it. I think it's below average, but not too far below average. Maybe like here. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna put Claw at the top here. Actually, I'll put Claw at the bottom of average. I think it's not like no, actually here. Synthesis deals 12 damage, and the next power you play costs 0. So it's specifically really good with things like Echo Form, which costs a lot of creative AI. A lot of the times you just won't get good setup with it, especially if you have multiple powers in your hand. Like sometimes you'll be able to play a 1 cost power for free. It's an above average card for sure. I don't think it like breaks the echelon of like the strong cards, but I think it's probably around here, with the potential of saving you a lot of energy if you have like Echo Form and stuff. So situationally much stronger, but also sometimes it just is basically like playing 2 strikes and then it's just bad. So on average, I would say it's good. And you can even like purposely opt into taking more expensive powers if you do get it. It's also worth noting that it's not just in this turn. So you can play this, and then if you find Echo Form like 2 turns later, it'll cost 0, assuming you didn't play a power in between. So that's interesting too. Tempest is channel X lightning, and X is obviously your energy. It goes really well with things like Voltaic. Here's the thing about it. It's like pure orb generation, and some of the other ways to generate lightning feel a bit better to me. Like for example, Lightning Strike, you're also dealing front-loaded damage. With Lightning Rod, you are blocking and also generating lightning. It isn't as good as like Voltaic a lot of the time if you're looking for like mass lightning generation, but it's still an above average card, especially if you have things like super critical, like sometimes you can just deal a lot of damage with it. It also goes well with other lightning cards, namely Thunder and Voltaic. So it's definitely a good card. I would put it around here, I think. I think it's just not strong a lot of the times. Upgraded, it's X+1 lightning generation, so at the very least you can get one lightning from it, even if you have no energy to spend. It's also really good with things like ChemX, but you can't really say it's good because it synergizes with one relic that you're likely not to find in a run. So yeah, I usually, if I see a Tempest, I'll definitely be okay with it, and I'll probably look for things like Voltaic or Thunder to go with it. Tesla Coil, deal 3 damage and you trigger all lightning against the enemy. Yeah, no, I think it's around the bottom of strong. I think a lot of people underrate it. For 0 cost, you can do like 12 damage with it. It goes well with things like Hologram or like All for One if you have lightning in your hand. If you have a Capacitor and you have a bunch of lightning, it's just a lot of damage for nothing. And even if you only have 1 lightning, it's still 0 cost for 6 damage. And usually you can get more than 1 lightning throughout a combat in your orb slots. So yeah, it's just high value for literally 0 cost. So it's cool. Thunder is borderline like game winning if you have a Voltaic or a Tempest, because you can nuke most combats. It's on average you are generating lightning, so like you are gonna evoke the lightning orb that you start with in most combats, and then it's just gonna do 6 extra for 1 cost. So that's basically a strike no matter what. It's also a power card, which makes it a bit better. I would put Thunder around the bottom of strong. With Voltaic, it's like God tier, and I'm usually pretty happy to take it, but sometimes it just doesn't do a whole lot, but it always does something. Trash to Treasure. So there's new art now in the live version, and it's much nicer. But basically, whenever you play a status card, you channel an orb. You channel, and if you upgrade it, it makes it innate. And realistically, this for 1 cost, especially when it's innate, there's so many ways to channel status cards. Like you can get so much value out of this, and even like energy from channeling plasma. Like I believe there's an equal distribution to generate any kind of orb. It's just really strong. I take it pretty often, even if I don't really. Sometimes I'll purposely not upgrade it, but even I'll take it if I'm using like an orb build, even just so I can like feel more comfortable taking things like turbos or overclock. And if I'm using a status build, obviously it's like insane. It's just I'm constantly channeling orbs. Gives you block, gives you damage, it gives you energy. So I actually think Trash to Treasure is around the bottom of very strong. I'm usually happy to take it. It usually fits into most decks just fine. It's also a power card, so it's good. Turbo. I think Turbo goes around the top of Sorry, another cutout in my mic. I don't know why it keeps dying like that. I think it thinks that I'm AFK, so it turns off automatically. So Turbo, basically you create a status card, which is kind of bad, voids hurt, but for 0 energy, it's a common and it generates 2 energy. A lot of the times it goes well with things like Compact or other status cards. You can also bring it back into your hand with All for One. It also just enables you early on if you find like any card draw. It's just a very easy way to get energy, which is nice. And it also goes it can fit into pretty much any deck, but it directly synergizes with the status one. And there's just so much ways to support status generation in the kit that Turbo feels even stronger than in Slay the Spire 1. So I'm very high on Turbo. It might be, it's the second best common. Yeah, I would say it's about right. Yeah. I think it goes well with a lot of the other strong commons like Cool-Headed. I think energy and card draw kind of go hand in hand. Uproar, deal 5 damage twice, play a random attack in your draw pile. So obviously there's some like really crazy things you can do with this. If you've like removed every strike in your deck and you just have like a Meteor Strike or like a Rocket Punch or something, or like a high cost attack, then yeah, it's just this is like an extremely high upside. It's borderline like game breaking if you just have like 2 uproars and you're just kind of spamming them and it goes. Would that go infinite? I guess. If you play this, would it go to your discard pile before the other uproar goes off? Because if that's true, if you just have like no attacks and 2 uproars, I guess that'd be an infinite. I never really thought of that before. But generally speaking, that takes a lot of setup, and you're not really building with that in mind. So it has some really funny potential. But actually, no, I guess it plays a random attack from your draw pile, so I guess you couldn't go infinite with 2 uproars like that. But anyways, yeah, if you have like no attacks and you have like a Meteor Strike and then you find an uproar, you're definitely going to take it. But I generally think it's a not so great common. It's basically going to do 10 damage a lot of the times and then like another strike. But actually, if you think about it, mathematically speaking, you're at least going to be playing another strike a lot of the time. So, or even like a 0 cost. It goes poorly with like low cost attacks. But I'd say it's like about an average card, maybe better than Cold Snap. I'd put it around here. I do take it sometimes, and then I find I have the need to build around it. It's fine. So Voltaic is showing 2 costs here, but it got nerfed to have 3 costs, which is actually a pretty significant nerf because basically if you're going to play it, you kind of need to have some sort of energy generation to support it, or you are screwed. You definitely need to have it upgraded because it exhausts otherwise. And basically the whole idea with Voltaic is you want to play it more than once in a turn, so you can just generate mass lightning and nuke. It goes really well with things like Hologram. If you have Hologram and Voltaic in your deck, you can basically create a solo engine to win any boss fight if you have like more than one hologram and some sort of energy generation. For that alone, I'm going to put it, this is considering that it is now a 3 cost, I would put it around here. It does take more setup than it did before when it cost 2, and it does require an upgrade, but the upside is basically if you have this with hologram, which you probably will have a hologram or 2 in your deck because you pretty much always just take it, yeah, you're chilling. You win any high HP enemy fight. It's good. White Noise, add a random power into your hand. It's free to play this turn and it exhausts. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very strong card, especially upgraded at cost 0. You could get some, I'd say on average power cards are strong on this character and you're getting one to play for free. It has an insane upside if you get like creative AI, for example, or you get a like Echo Form, a Defrag. Yeah, I don't know. You're just getting a free power, and worst case scenario, you get one of the powers that's like down here, and you're still playing it for free, right? It's just due to the nature of power cards being very strong on average, and this costing 0 when you upgrade it. I think that White Noise is just a safe take on almost any deck, and I would actually probably bump it up to around here. Yeah. Zap costs 1 for 1 lightning. It starts in your deck, so that's you have to grade it on a bit of a curve. So 1 energy for 1 lightning is bad. If you upgrade it, it costs 0, and that's good. So on average, like early game, I do try to get it upgraded. Otherwise, I almost like view it as annoying to play, and I want to find another way to generate lightning. So I wouldn't say it's outright bad, but I'm going to put it like at the bottom of Meteor. And then once you upgrade it, it's quite nice. So I'll put it around the top. I'll put it at the top of this tier. And now I'm going to give one last look over to see if I have anything that stands out that I would want to change. So I think I'm completely okay with this best card list. Reboot is, yeah, I think I agree with most of these. Yep. Maybe I would put trash to treasure down into strong and like down here. Yeah, that feels a bit better. Maybe I would move compile driver up here. Genetic algorithm here is, I would actually move it down here. I think I was overrating it a bit. Buffer being here is okay. Yeah, I think I like this so far. Yeah, no, I think I'm happy with my placements. So I'm going to end the video there. This is made in beta patch version 0.103.0. So things are subject to change. So if there's been an update since then things would change on here. But as of now, that's how I would rank the cards. And if you have any disagreements or any comments in general, be sure to leave them. And I'm happy to have any discussion, or even if you want to change my mind on something, maybe I'm underrating a card. But based on my win streaks in A10, like this is just kind of what's been working for me. So thank you.